portion to this animation is just creating the actual movement itself. And so what we'll be using for this is just basic keyframes and really basic motions, basically. So what we're going to want to do first is create this side-scrolling effect that makes him move from one place to the next in the very, very classic, like, stay in place and everything moves around him. So we'll set our position by setting a keyframe here at the very beginning with our playhead, and then dragging our playhead to the very end, and then dragging this position keyframe all the way to the end here so that it is just up against the edge of our gradiented solid. And so now as we scroll it back and forth, as you can see, he's going from slightly darker pink to slightly lighter pink, and he's moving across the city. And so our next step is actually going to be to make him move up and down, Godzilla himself. And so what we want to do first is create, basically set his position keyframe again, and we're just going to make him move up and down as though he's walking. So we'll start off with, like, he bends his knee a little bit, so he goes down ever so slightly, and then, you know, half a second later he, you know, moves up again, so we'll, you know, go up again, and he's kind of set in a jog, so he's going to really drop down because he bends his knee. And so you keep going back and forth like this, and you can do this continuously, and it's kind of nice when it isn't exactly the same thing every time. But the other thing you can do is grab all of these and copy them and then paste them. And when you paste them, they just create the same animation over and over and over again. And so now we have sort of our Godzilla that's in mid-stride. And so if you are happy with this speed as he's moving up and down, which I'm not necessarily entirely happy with, then you can highlight all of them and hold down Option. When you grab one end of them, it'll change all of them proportionally to this, so you can make them really hop up and down like crazy in this ridiculous motion, or you can kind of fine-tune it into what it might look like a real ponderous walk. And so there's that. And then if you're having a hard time like I am with this playing back in real time and you're trying to set timing systems, you can go here and drop down and change this to a third or a quarter, and that's going to affect the quality of everything on here, but it will make it play back considerably faster and closer to real time. So now that's pretty okay. And the next thing that I want to do is change the rotation so that he's sort of wiggling back and forth as he moves, since no one sort of stays in place and automatically just goes up and down when they're moving, which is a little bit ridiculous. So one way you can do this is you could just set rotation and just start doing this again of, like, let's 1 degree, and he moves forward a little bit, and then halfway down he, you know, change that back to -1 degree, and then, you know, move forward again a little bit more, and he goes to 0, and then next one he moves really far forward to 2%, or 2 degrees. This is one way to do this. The other way to do this is After Effects accepts expressions, and all you have to do is Alt and click on the stopwatch for whichever thing you want to give an expression to. And the expression that we're looking for in this circumstance is just called wiggle. And you can just do wiggle and then parentheses, and you have to give it 2 factors, one of which is your frequency is the first one and your amplitude is your second one. And so the frequency is how many times it happens per second. So let's say it happens 4 times per second. And then your amplitude is how different it is per second. So let's give that maybe another 4 as well, and we'll play that back and see what that looks like. If that looks like moderately decent sort of real animation. So I might even change my amplitude to 3, but I feel like my frequency is working for me, so we'll set that back and play it back. So this is just a couple different ways that you can affect this. If you want to try the wiggle expression on your position, you can do that by just, again, holding down Option and then clicking on it and then typing in wiggle. It is a little bit harder because you'll have to do the math of what it is to move this, you know, instead of moving a couple of degrees, you're sort of moving upwards of 100 pixels or 100 more pixels. And then you're moving at a significantly different rate than a very quick sort of wiggle back and forth. So that's entirely up to you and sort of as needed with your sense of comfort with that math there. The other thing that you can do as you're doing these is right click on these, and you can go to keyframe assistance and choose easy ease in, easy ease out, or just easy ease. And what easy ease does is it creates a curve in the graph. So if we go over here, you can see it starts this tiny little curve instead of being a straight line between each of these. Then the motion is actually leaned into and then leaned out of, and so it creates somewhat of a more like natural-ish motion. It's a little hard to explain in a way. So that's looking pretty darn campy, and I think that that's what we're shooting for. So if you have any other dreams of how this might move back and forth, please play around with it. You can also apply these same animations to the cars, so if you want it to zoom off as soon as he comes close, that's a really simple way to do that, of just changing the position keyframe again. So good luck and have fun.